Well, when you're talking.
And now you're live.
That's a jack for a lot. Shall I call the meeting to order? Like, I move to call the meeting to order. Can I get a motion?
Oh, so
Yeah,
moved.
that's good.
So we have one agenda item today, it looks like, and that is the review of the request for dedicated parking spots at the commercial use of 2 Hammond Street. The action request is to make a recommendation to the Business and Economic Development Committee. So reviewing the request and looking at the spots, I wanted to mention, and I share this offline briefly, but earlier this week, I was tuning into the Racial Equity Committee call and noted that the Wabanaki have mentioned their plans with their downtown partnership to develop all of the area along the Kenduskeag into, along the canal, I apologize, into a botanical path with Maine Botanical Gardens. So I wasn't sure if that had been shared or maybe cross-communicated. So that is my first concern is that, would this impact that? And is that something that we can sort of keep in mind? And under that, I suppose the next part would be replacing the accessible spot that would be taken away. So those are the 2 items that I wanted to make sure we discussed around those to make sure that we were doing a full vetting. Yeah,
Can I also add that that's the location of the Charlie Howard
that was,
Memorial,
That's-
and
yes.
that's gonna be a problem.
yes, that was thank you. That was part of the Wabanaki walk, is to bring it to the Charlie Howard Memorial as part of sort of the land redevelopment. So that was another concern that I, thank you, Beth, to make sure that we are being really considerate about that as well. And mindful of the location of that memorial and sort of its importance in Bangor's downtown history.
Mhm.
So those were the points that I wanted to make sure we all sort of had knowledge around. And based on that, sort of where my decision or opinion would go, but does anyone else have any?
I just wanted to disclose that I'm the property manager of 2 Hammond Street and that the gentleman that is requesting this is a business partner of mine. So if I need to recuse myself, I am happy to, if you think that that's in your best interest. But
Thank you.
I don't have any financial interest in this project, and it wouldn't have any impact on our other business dealings, whether or not this passed, but just transparency sake.
Appreciate that. Thank you very
So
much.
the committee has to take action on whether or not you feel he has a conflict. The motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion that,
Okay.
yes, there is a conflict,
Okay, so yes.
clearly.
I second.
Yes.
All right, so motion, yes. And
That doesn't mean you have to leave.
No,
Eric, are you voting in that motion or are you making a note?
No, I'm voting yes. There's clearly a conflict.
Great, thank you, good, thank you. Okay, so, thank you for your transparency, appreciate that. And that is helpful.
I would also like to bring up one other thing because I'm not super familiar with it, but I know that the city has around downtown, several other businesses who have are utilizing parking spaces or outdoor seating. And I'd like to be more aware of what that arrangement is and how that works, just from consistency standpoint as well.
Okay.
To talk about that.
So in terms of, if it's okay, I'll just kind of go through some of these comments. Okay. In terms of the plans for developing like along the Kenduskeag, that was, just raised the other night. So we'll be working with the Wabanaki on whatever their plan is. I mean, that's probably at an infancy stage at this point as to exactly what will happen along there. We're really excited about having, celebrating that space more than it has been in the past. So, but, in terms of coordinating, that's so early on in its planning stage that there's really not much to coordinate at this time. But I think it's good to know that that's out there. The relocation of the accessible spot, we haven't really taken a look at this yet to see where else it could go if the committee wanted to recommend this change, but that is something that we have to take a look at. The Charlie Howard, memorial that's there, that was raised by a couple of counselors when we brought this initially to VED, that they had a concern about that, just respecting that space. And, having sort of a parklet type, for partying might not be in good taste, but the council did have some concerns about that. And in terms of parklets, yeah, the city does allow for parklets. It's a process, permitting process and a fee. So that came out during COVID.
If I recall, isn't there a special tax rate that I thought I remember reading in BDN that there was a
Yeah,
different
it's a fee.
rental rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget what the fee is offhand. I can look it up while we're sitting here.
It's not critical. I just wanted to.
Yeah, but there is a fee associated with that.
And it's increasing incrementally over time, I understand.
Mhm.
And that makes sense with supply and demand.
Can I ask, can the business survive without this outdoor seating?
I'm not familiar enough with the business model, to be perfectly honest. So I can't really speak to that. I don't feel it. My gut tells me it's not a deal breaker,
Okay.
but it would certainly help.
They had wanted in the ground floor to put in a bar, sort of like a speakeasy at that ground floor level. They had received a relief from the appeals board for a floodplain permit to be able to put that there. And I think they just wanted to be able to go outside with seating.
I get that. I have to say, the Charlie Howard Memorial was a deal breaker for me. That was national news. It was huge. It started a full movement in the state of Maine. And I'm not okay moving it.
No.
It's inappropriate.
So as somebody who's spent an awful lot of time in that space, because I've maintained that garden, I should probably disclose that. I've been the member of the beautification committee that took on maintaining that garden for this last year. It's actually two memorials. The Charlie Memorial is the front part of it, and the rear part of it is a memorial, Kenduskeag. That's where the flagpole is, and that's actually kind of two separate spaces. It's really, really, really moving. Every single time I'm down there working, somebody comes to pay respects to the memorial. And both my husband and I have met people who knew him well back in the day, so it's been really touching and it's a really special spot. I do agree. That being said, I suspect that it could be, I don't know that it would be, I don't know.
As a member of the LGBTQ community, this is one of those things that would, if you want to light a fire in the state of Maine, this would light a fire. It would, I don't think the controversy is the reason why we should not pursue it. I think we shouldn't pursue it because it's really bad form. But I will also say that it will cause a fuckload of controversy.
It is truly, I don't mean to bring this in and to make light of it. It is truly the basis of the book, It is this horrifying event that took place. I think we would be remiss to try to just be like, but what about cocktails?
Yeah,
And that's just, it is not, I'm with you. It is not something that I am okay
nope.
having
Just-
happen.
Just for my own clarity, nobody's proposing that it would be removed, right?
No,
It's sitting in the middle of a
Okay.
cocktail
Yeah,
bar.
Right,
okay.
it's the nature of the.
Oh, so
the-
they
what
would
took place.
surround
Yes,
that, oh.
yes, it's the nature
Oh,
of.
is that what they were asking?
I thought they were
they
just
asking for
the parking
spots.
space.
Yeah, in the parking space.
Well,
So they're directly next to, I mean, I'm looking.
They have the whole area marked.
Right. Oh,
The
okay.
memorial is
The
right
nature of
Ju-
what took place and how it took place. I feel like it would be in very poor taste to have
Mhm.
cocktails within arm's reach of this. Hi, Eric, I'm sorry, you're on mute. Hi.
I am on, I mean, I didn't figure there would be any benefit to me joining in everything, but I did want to say something aside from the emotional aspects of this. It has long been my position that we have a parking issue in this town, and taking away any parking spaces for any reason, I've always been against until we have a comprehensive parking plan, which will add spaces because we need parking spaces. So that's A. B is that there also seems to be a big push and a reasonable push to make this a more pedestrian friendly, restaurants having spaces outside, taking advantage of hopefully what we see as the future of the downtown of Bangor being a bustling, wonderful place. These things lie in contradiction to each other. And that is our job over the next months and years to figure out. But if this particular question is about the parking spaces, we have to relocate handicap space, which is a big problem. And Gibran specifically, who now is dealing with these things, brought this up at our retailer meeting that we had as the DVP. You're also talking about taking away 2 regular spaces. And again, regardless, and don't think that I don't care, the other stuff is really important too. But this is about the parking, and I say making an exception like this is going to lead to making exceptions all over the place, whereas we really need to make a comprehensive plan to not only increase parking, but then have some nice pedestrian seated areas as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking a very similar thing, is that all the other issues that have come up, you know, kind of our consensus was that we kind of hold off until we get, like he said, the comprehensive plan, so it would be contradicting kind of our other decisions too,
Yeah.
along with all the other pieces to this.
And my challenge to that would be that we are already offering other businesses in downtown to utilize parking spaces for outdoor seating. We're already doing that.
Which I also disagree with very much.
And I respect that, and I actually
I'm just throwing that out.
agree with you, but so we have to be careful. I mean, I agree with you, because that was my
Yeah.
default position as well, you know, not until we have the comprehensive plan.
Right.
But then, you know, we already have this other program in place.
And I almost think that's another concern for me, that is there's so many contradictions to this, there's like many different ones. That's concerning to make a decision that it could affect like 5 or 6 different things.
Yes, I agree. So, I mean, I think with this standard of, we have set the precedent of, until we have the comprehensive plan, we don't change any of the current parking strategies. Additionally, removing spots is just not a good choice for if, I won't even say that like an established restaurant makes more sense, but a potential new business, that all that aside, but truly, again, at the core of it too, knowing that we have a community that wants to sort of revitalize the canal, something I think is really important to think about, and truly maintaining this really critical piece of Bangor history that we need to not forget about, because that is super important as well. So do we feel fairly okay moving towards a vote at this point?
I move that we deny the request.
And I will second that.
I'd like to, we have to recommend to the,
Yeah, it's a.
Oh, I
recommendation.
move that we recommend that we
Yeah.
deny the request. Strongly recommend that we deny the request.
Second.
do we want to have that caveat that we put in the other recommendations, that we really don't feel comfortable making any decisions like this until we have a comprehensive plan? for parking?
For parking, yep. Yeah,
Or do
I
we
know
just
that
want
it's
to have that
necessary
tonight?
in the motion.
but it's also because of the,
Memorial.
yeah, the memorial space as well. It seemed like there's a general agreement.
I will tell you, I will fight this one very, very publicly if it gets passed.
Just in the interest of clarity, knowing the folks involved, that is a cut and paste of the city's GIS
Okay.
and his. I don't want to say, he's not a very good manipulator of files, put it that way. So I have no doubt that he had no intent to impact that memorial whatsoever. And if you met him,
And I have
Yeah.
met him, and he's a
Okay,
lovely
great, okay.
person. I have
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem, and
I'm,
I assume he just doesn't know that it's there, or he's from out of state and he probably doesn't understand the impact.
grew up in Orono, born and raised. So
Dash?
Oh, no, this is,
Oh, I saw,
No,
I,
this is-
sorry, I thought, I
Nope,
saw
it's a
Dash's
tenant.
name.
It's a,
Yeah.
so he
Okay.
may be spearheading this, but it's somebody else.
Oh,
Another tenant.
I will just assume that he still doesn't understand the full impact.
He probably doesn't understand, but I'm fairly certain that the intent was just to put tables on the parking spots.
Yeah.
That was it. But I would also encourage that we would invite him down when the time comes to have revisit this after the comprehensive plan, just my 2 cents.
We can do that. I will
Okay.
still fight it.
No, that's, yeah, just.
But I think that's why it's important, you know, that it's coming to advisory committee and stuff, because not always are they thinking everything through and those important pieces, so.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they have other things they have to think of too, but these are important for them to know that it's happening,
Exactly, and that they're,
and that's important.
right, I mean, who doesn't love the idea of like a super fun speakeasy, that sounds great, however. You know,
That was
the
really
purpose of
good.
it.
When I was living there.
But then, but based on this, I mean, honestly, based on my brief understanding, that business might still happen, they just won't have outdoor seating.
Oh, sure.
And
Which is fine.
And it says it here too, that around the back, there is a ton of parking lot that could be utilized.
Oh,
Those are tenant parking spots for the.
That would have to take that would have to be a
Yeah.
internal conversation, and maybe the owners of the property would feel like it's better for them to give up spaces than for the city to give up
That is
spaces.
the point that I'm making. If a private business would like to expand their business, perhaps they can make a concession in their own business as opposed to asking the city to accommodate that, which is a decision for someone else. So that is, so do we all feel pretty good with this? Okay.
Did you take the vote? I didn't see.
Oh, so we vote to,
The vote is in the negative to not.
Correct.
not
To recommend to
recommend.
Yes, we vote to
Recommending
not
that.
recommend. So can we take an official vote?
Okay.
All right,
Sorry.
not to, are you not voting for it? We just want to make sure we get the count right.
For the same reason I felt strongly about taking over the garden, so I got taken care of.
I don't know. Okay.
Eric, did you vote for it or against or for?
I vote for the motion.
Oh,
to not
okay.
recommend.
Thank you.
Yes,
We just
thank
want to
you.
make sure.
Sorry,
it's
we
all
were
right.
supposed to do
Thank
that.
you. Sorry. Thank you.
That's all right.
Okay. In that case, do we want to move to adjourn?
I did have one other thing under other business, the change, you may recall, we talked, forget how long ago it was, but about changing the code that sort of created this committee such that right now it says that you can only review things that come from the council, the full council. And so we're putting in the change that it comes through the BED. And just sort of bouncing people around like that just isn't great customer service when people want to have a conversation about spaces, so and parking. So that's going through, and also we're working on the RFP for the parking plan, so that'll be coming as well.
All right. Thank you. Are we okay to move to adjourn then? All right.
So
So
moved.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.